Welcome back, everyone. My name is Jesper Jensen, where I work as an analyst here at ABG. Next up, we have Funcom and CFO Stian Drageset, who's coming from Norway to present the company. So please go ahead, Stian.
Thank you, Jesper, and thank you all for attending. So this is a company presentation about Funcom. We are a video gaming company focusing on console and PC. Here you see an overview. We have a 26-year history. We have revenue-wise, roughly 50-50 from PC and console. We're listed on the Norwegian Stock Exchange. And as you see on the top right, we've had a very successful turnaround recently with a strong growth in revenue and profits. We are based in Norway, the headquarters. We have most of our developers there, almost as many in the US. And we also have an office in Lisboa, Portugal, where there's around 30 people. So in total, we're about 190 people. And most of these are developers focusing on making great games. And then on the bottom right, you see a snapshot of our portfolio. So Funcom has, as I said, a long history, and there was a big turnaround that started a few years ago. And here are some of the highlights of how the old strategy and the new strategy is different. So starting at the bottom with the core of the business, our internal PC games used to be a long development time of 3 to 7 years. Now we managed to reduce that to 1 to 2 years, so we can release more games. And we can also get them faster to market and make sure that we hit opportunities and adapt to the trends as they move quickly. We've also started developing more games in parallel internally. We've also added the console. That's a very efficient way to double the market, the addressable market, with a quite small increase in development costs. We've added external publishing. Previously, we only publish our internal games, but now we have third parties that develop the games and we publish them. That further generates further revenue streams and more releases. We have acquired IP, so intellectual property. We have strategic control over a broad IP portfolio, where Conan is the most well-known, also Mutant Year Zero, and a few other Swedish IPs, or IPs originating from Swedish board games. And at the top, we have some great new owners. We used to be held by, the largest owner used to be a shipping company. Now it is the world's largest gaming company, Tencent, which is the largest owner. And an investor that most of you know, Swedbank Robur, which is the biggest gaming investor perhaps in the Nordics that we have as our second largest investor. And as many of you know, the gaming market is very strong. It's around 150 billion globally, and it's growing around 10% a year. And our space into this gaming market, where we like to compete, is where we avoid AAA competition, so niches that don't have an incumbent AAA player with a multi-million marketing budget. But at the same time, niches that are so difficult, for instance, due to multiplayer elements, that the indies aren't capable of competing. That's a sweet spot we aim for. And for instance, in open world survival games, which is our core niche, is a good example of that. And here you see a snapshot of our portfolio. We have a few IPs with several games: Conan, Secret World, which is internally developed, The Longest Journey, then Anarchy Online, and Mutant Year Zero on the end. And we're keeping on adding games to the portfolio. With a new strategy, we add a lot more games and more quickly than before, which increases the robustness of the strategy. Some of these games are quite old, so it just points out how long lifetime a good game can have. So Anarchy Online is actually now 19 years and still bringing in cash every month. And Conan Exiles here is our biggest game recently. That has been a key driver of the success the last couple of years. And that's an open world survival game where you are brought into a game and you need to survive, you need to craft weapons, clothing, and you need to explore and conquer and team up with others. That's a market niche that is has a lot of interest in the gaming market. So these are the IPs that we are very excited about. Conan, we have Solomon Kane, Mutant Chronicles, Cole. A few of these have had Hollywood films made by them that you see on those pictures. Dune is something we made a deal recently to make a few Dune games. There's a massive blockbuster coming to Hollywood in the end of next year. So that's something we're excited about. And we have our own internal IPs shown at the bottom. Yeah, so this is the big Hollywood blockbuster coming in December in 2020. So Legendary and Warner Brothers are taking Dune, which is one of the biggest science fiction series and had the TV series and films made a while ago, and really making a big push now. So they want to make this the Star Wars for grown-ups. Star Wars has gone more towards kids, and now they really make a big push to make this into a big IP with several things in the pipeline. There's this blockbuster film next year that's been announced, and it's and they're already starting to work towards a sequel. And there's a TV series called Dune: The Sisterhood that will be a streaming service. So all of this will generate attention to an IP which is already strong and has its core following in the gaming world. And we want to make the most out of this. And our next game that follows Conan Exiles, that has been our big success recent years, will be a Dune game. But it will build on the success of Exiles and take all the learnings and take the next step in that genre, and then leverage all the attention that will be around the Dune film. And we're also working on other exciting releases with the Dune game, and we'll announce those more later when we're ready. And then we're very happy and humbled to get the world's biggest gaming company as a large owner. They're top 10 market cap company in the world, so they have been clearly successful, and also it illustrates how big the gaming market is, as roughly half of their revenue originates from gaming. They have a very strong track record into investing into successful gaming companies. I'm sure you all know Fortnite, so they invested into the company behind Fortnite, which is called Epic. And they're good at spotting these trends early, so they invested in Epic early, and then they've been able to ride that wave. Other companies, Paradox, Ubisoft, Supercell, Frontier, and Miniclip are examples. And on some, they have a small minority share and kept it at that. And others, they've increased and have a high share, or in some companies, they also have full ownership. The actual transaction was that they acquired 29% of the share at a significant premium to the market price at 15.75 Norwegian kroner. So we're happy that they believed in us to put in such a bid. There was no cash into the company, as that was a pure market transaction where the old shipping owner sold their shares. And we see a lot of benefits to this partnership. They have a lot of industry expertise, and they also have a very strong reputation being a professional owner in the industry. So they never meddle with the operations, but if we invite them to discuss certain topics, they have a lot of great teams that they've already been very willing and helpful to bring to our company, so we can discuss and so on. That they have gaming evaluation teams, publishing, marketing, production, and so on. So there's a lot of competence that we can access and make sure that we can bring even better games to the market in the future. Obviously, they have a strong network, and it's easier for us to get attention with Tencent as a partner. Access to China, which is one of the biggest gaming markets in the world. And we also see this is investor validation. After Tencent went in, we've seen other institutional investors has invested and more interest from both retail and institutional investors. And of course, having a strong growth-oriented, financially strong backer is always helpful. So if you see big opportunities that require additional investing or additional gunpowder, we are in a completely different situation now than a couple of years ago. This is one transaction or small acquisition we did about a year ago. Small Portuguese office that we had worked with for a while. So then first we worked with them as outsourcing, and we outsourced work to them. They had a great mentality, a lot of talent, and made great contributions to our games. So we wanted to work with them permanently, and we also wanted to grow the team. So we made an acquisition of that, published or released or announced early this year. And we've already seen that we could follow the plan of doubling the team and saving the cost savings of having work done there versus in our Oslo or US office has already saved back the investment in that company. And then quickly on to financials. Here we see revenue and EBITDA, and you see 2017 and 18 has a strong pickup, and that is the result of the turnaround. The turnaround was initiated in 2015, but then it took a bit of time to execute, reshape the team, and get the first game out under the new strategy that was released in January 2017. And you also see EBITDA margins are very strong at 52% in 2018. And that's the favorable characteristic of the video game industry. Costs are to a large degree fixed, and then when the games are successful, then margins become high. On the left-hand side, it's 12-month rolling revenue. In gaming, revenues vary by quarter by quarter due to uneven release activity. So 12-month rolling is interesting, and here we see that we're in a completely different level now than in 2016, when we have now margins around 50%. This is a picture illustrating the cash flow and investments. And we've come a very long way from 2016, where we had a lot of debt and no cash. Now that's turned around. We have a nice cash position and zero debt. So we're much better shape to continue the growth into the future. And the sign of the investment into that future and that growth is on the right-hand side, where we see we've remarkably speeded up the investments into new games. And now on to the games and the pipeline. This is activity during the third quarter, where there about 7 games were worked on in some form. So these are the old MMO games, as massively multiplayer online games, where thousands of players can be online in the same world. And these other are new releases where we made minor changes. So we added Switch to the park. On Mutant Year Zero, we added the DLC, that's downloadable contents. It's a way to add an expansion, and then we get some cash for that. And on top, there was a Conan Unconquered that was tweaked and relaunched with some new additional contents also. And this is the biggest game, Conan Exiles, which proves to be a very successful implementation of what is called games as a service. So it's a premium game in the sense that we sell it first for $40 to $60, depending on platform and region. But then we add a lot of content on an ongoing basis. So we had 5 DLCs during 2019. And one of them is actually launching today. That's the one on the right, where we add mounts, or the ability to ride on a horse and also fight on a horse. That's something the players has been wanting for a long time. It's a big community. The game has been sold to millions of people. We engage with them a lot. They want new features and so on. And one of the features that have been very strongly desired is the ability to ride. And now that is released today. So we hope that will make the players even more engaged for the next months. This is another game we released recently, Moons of Madness. It was positively received. It's a bit of a horror game that was released around Halloween. It had 75% positive reviews on Steam. Now it's even gone up to 76. We released it first on PC, and then in January we will have it on console also. So we're looking forward to that release in a bit more quiet period. And then this is the new Dune game, the open world game, which will launch and benefit from the movie that will launch in December next year. On Conan Exiles, even though it's been very successful for Funcom as a company, it was made in a time where the company was struggling financially. So we really had to rush and get the game out quickly because we didn't have funding to do a thorough job and do the proper kind of ground structure. So it was a bit rushed, but still very successful. But it does kind of make it a bit more work each time we make a DLC or an expansion now. But with this game, we're going to do it properly. We've learned a lot from Exiles, and we have talked a lot with the community and got a lot of feedback, and we want to really get it right this time. And with the additional boost of the IP, we are really excited about that opportunity. And a bit more about this genre, open world survival genre. Here you see on the left, this is the concurrent uses of Conan Exiles, and this is of 2 other games, Ark and Rust, in that genre. So even though Exiles has been very successful for Funcom, and has made us able to turn around the company and be very profitable, we see both, or in the niche, the way it is today, there's a lot more room to growth. So the next release in this niche, the Dune game, we hope to be significantly better than Exiles. And also there's potential for the niche, for the genre to have a significant step up. Because today, even though there's a lot of excitement about this genre, all the games are a bit clunky. No one has really managed to get the right recipe. And that's what we want to with our next game. And fixing it, making it a bit more easy for new players. Now it's a bit difficult. It's a bit of a learning curve to get into the games. So a few of these things and balance the games even better will make this more appealing for the mass market. And that's when the genre can really explode and then make it into the big, make it into a breakout success. We also see those genres that has really made that step. For instance, the Battle Royale, which has 1 billion users. They come from other. They don't come out of anywhere. There's typically a genre that is popular, but it hasn't quite figured out how to make the games more, or increase the mass market appeal, take down the barriers to entry, and make the player experience a bit more smooth. So with our next game, we want to do all we can to make this more mass market appeal and get even broader appeal, and both for the game itself, and we believe there's a good chance that will also happen for the genre. That's also when we see Tencent coming in, they are very eager to get the next big success, and they try to find those market genres that have the opportunity to be the next breakout genre. And then they've seen this as one of those genres that has that potential. This is the co-op shooter that our US office is working on. It's on the Mutant Chronicles IP, which is one of the IPs that we control in the joint operation. That's another exciting multiplayer genre that has taken it's a bit further has a bit further mass market appeal already, and has the potential to grow even further, that genre as well. We'll get back to this game when we're ready to announce more about release and so on. And these are other games we have in the portfolio. Conan Chop Chop is releasing early next year. And the same is the console version of Moons of Madness. And on the right-hand side are 2 publishing games we haven't revealed as yet. Games Farm is the developer of one of them, and at the bottom is The Outsiders. That's a Swedish company. And we announced quite recently that we work with them, but we had worked a bit with them in advance. And they are really working at full speed. And delivering great builds every week. So that might release sooner than most people expect. We're running out of time, so I'll speed up a little bit. Yeah, this is the last slide. Summary and outlook. We have great financials, broadening portfolio of games, some strong IPs, and now happy with the new large owner in Tencent. So we think we are in a great shape to continue the growth, and we hope you will join us on this journey. And then we are ready for Q&A.
Thank you, Stian. Like you mentioned, we're running short on time, but I'd like to ask you, there's a big shakeup in terms of distribution for PC and console games going on, with new platforms entirely, like Google Stadia and other cloud gaming solutions. What's your approach to those platforms? Are you rushing there? Are they requesting your content, or how are you approaching it?
Yeah, the gaming market is constantly evolving, and being able to adapt is very important. And the way we see this, it's called a store war in the industry, that all the different platforms, they compete to get attention and to get content. That is a beneficial kind of war for us, because that means they need content, we produce content, and they come to us with good offers. So we see that as an opportunity to de-risk the launch of our games, because we are able, by putting a game onto one of these platforms for free, if it's included in a subscription service, we can get a nice sum of cash, and then get a big part of the development cost covered, while still keeping the upside in that we also sell it directly. And perhaps it's the industry is moving a bit towards more not necessarily pure free-to-play model, but that there's a cost to buy the game, but there's more and more additional monetization later with the downloadable contents, for instance, but it also can be microtransactions.
Okay, I think we're out of time, but thank you, Stian, for presenting Funcom.
Thank you.